Okay, so here's the main screen of the Credit Card Paydown SheetFeat. You'll see we're looking down here at a single tab called Credit Card 01. This could be any such credit card you'd want it to be, and we can add multiple tabs, have multiple sheets running at the same time. Basically what we're going to go here is all the steps, or the couple of steps really, that's necessary for adding in a new transaction. So once you go out and use your credit card, then we're going to enter that information in on the Credit Card Paydown SheetFeat. First thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that bottom tab is on the correct card. In this case it's just called Credit Card 01, but again, you can name it whatever you want. In this case I'm using Google Sheets. You can click on the down arrow, select rename, whatever you want to rename it to, you can do so. So in this particular one, let's say this particular transaction happened today, which happens to be, well, it's 10/29/19. It's not a good point, but basically what you're going to want to do is you're going to look at the date that the transaction took place, and then you're going to want to choose the proper column to put it in. Each column is signified by the statement ending date, so you're going to want to find the closest date to the statement ending date, of course without going over. So let's just say in this particular case it's January 20th of 2020. No, that's not here yet. So it's this column that we'd be dealing with. But to enter in that transaction, I'm going to click on that column. I'm going to scroll down to our charges section. Initially, our first section of charges is under established vendors, and I have these kind of color coded, and you can, when you have yours set up, you can name right inside this box whatever you want to name it, so you can customize whatever you would like. And notice it's called charges, and then if one of those on the established vendors was the correct charge, you just put the amount right in here. Let's say it isn't for an established vendor, then what you're going to do is you're going to scroll down to the generic vendors. You notice now it says miscellaneous. You can put it anywhere right in here. So if this isn't like one of the common occurring places where you would use your card, then you can put it down here on the bottom, and it's not signified by one in particular. But if it is a common one, then you would put it under established vendors. The advantage to doing established vendors is for a given period of time, you can look on this particular row and see how many charges were given to that over that period of time. Now it is important for established vendors that depending on how many rows you give them, you may have multiple charges per that period. So if it's kind of like a subscription or something, it really works good. But if it's more than one charge, then usually it doesn't really work as well, because each one of these cells is only one charge. Make sure that you're not combining that charge into any particular one. So let's say this is miscellaneous, and then what I would come down here is to generic vendors, and I'd say if the charge was $15.27, I'd put that right in there, and then that's where I would account for that. Now one thing you can do is you can add a note to that. In this particular case, using Google Sheets, we can right click on that. We can scroll down where it says insert note. You can put some supplemental information into here. For instance, you can put transaction date, because you'll notice that by putting into this column, every month has a column, but we don't necessarily know when that charge took place. Well, it's kind of nice at this point to just capture that information, and you can do so in the notes. You also too, since it's under the generic vendors, you don't necessarily know what this charge came from. You can also put there in that section where the money was spent, any other information, why you did it, any other information. That information is always going to be there, and sometimes it's helpful when you're coming back and reconciling it. So again, this is just quick information in terms of entering a transaction. It's that simple. It's really straightforward. And you also would like, in this particular case, sometimes you would want to shade a particular cell in terms of what it would like, what it kind of would signify, and the stages of reconciliation that comes. I'm going to go over that little information later in cell shading, but this kind of gives you that idea of entering a transaction itself.